The reason you can't stop thinking about him has nothing to do with him being special. I know that sounds harsh, but hear me out. You think he's stuck in your mind because the connection was deep, because he was different, because something about him just clicked. But the truth is way more simple and way more frustrating. Your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do when someone pulls away. And it's tricking you into believing this man matters more than he actually does. The less he gives you, the more your mind obsesses, the less available he is, the more valuable he seems. And the worst part, this has nothing to do with love. It's pure psychology. And once you see what's really going on, you'll realize you've been chasing a feeling, not a person. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly why your brain won't let go of someone who barely talks to you. And more importantly, how to break free from this mental trap without feeling like you're forcing yourself to move on or pretending you don't care. This isn't about playing games or trying to get him back. It's about understanding why your mind works this way and using that knowledge to take back control. Because right now, he's not doing anything to earn this space in your head, but your brain is giving it to him anyway. Let's start with what's actually happening here. When someone doesn't text, doesn't call, and keeps their distance, your brain treats them like an unsolved puzzle. And here's the thing about puzzles. Your mind hates leaving them unfinished. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. Basically, your brain remembers incomplete things way more than complete things. It's why you remember the guy who disappeared more than the guy who stayed and was consistent. The guy who's all in doesn't create mystery. There's nothing left to figure out. But the guy who's distant, unpredictable, hard to read. Your brain latches onto him because there's no closure, no clear answer, no resolution. And this is where it gets tricky. You start telling yourself stories to fill in the gaps. Maybe he's just busy. Maybe he's scared of getting hurt. Maybe he's dealing with something personal and he'll come back around when he's ready. Your mind is literally creating reasons to keep him alive in your thoughts because it refuses to accept that the story is over without an ending. But here's what you need to understand. This isn't intuition. This isn't your heart telling you he's the one. It's your brain trying to solve something that doesn't need solving. He's not a mystery. He's just a guy who's not putting in effort. But because he's inconsistent, your mind treats him like he's worth more attention than he actually deserves. There's also something else happening that makes this even worse. Intermittent reinforcement. It's the same psychological trick that makes slot machines so addictive. You don't win every time you pull the lever, but every once in a while you do. And that random reward keeps you coming back. That's exactly what's happening with him. He doesn't text you every day. He doesn't call regularly. But every now and then, he does. He sends a random message. He responds to your story. He likes your photo. And boom, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. That tiny bit of attention feels like a reward. And because it's unpredictable, it actually feels more intense than if he was texting you every single day. Consistency doesn't create obsession. Inconsistency does. When someone is reliable and present, your nervous system relaxes. You don't have to wonder. You don't have to wait. You don't have to analyze every little interaction. But when someone is unpredictable, your brain stays on high alert. It's waiting for the next crumb, the next sign, the next moment of contact. And that constant state of anticipation is what keeps him stuck in your head. You're not thinking about him because he's amazing. You're thinking about him because your brain is wired to focus on what feels uncertain. Now, here's where most women mess this up. They think the solution is to just stop thinking about him, to distract themselves or force themselves to move on. But that doesn't work because the more you try not to think about something, the more you think about it. It's like if I told you right now, don't think about a pink elephant, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? Exactly. Trying to push him out of your thoughts just makes him take up even more space. The real solution isn't about forgetting him. It's about understanding why he's there in the first place. Once you see the psychological pattern clearly, it loses its grip on you. Let me explain what's really going on emotionally. When someone pulls away or stays distant, it triggers something deep inside you. It's not about him. It's about what his absence makes you feel about yourself. When he doesn't reach out, your brain starts asking questions. Did I do something wrong? Am I not enough? Why doesn't he want me the way I want him? And those questions hurt. So your mind starts trying to fix it. It starts replaying conversations, analyzing his words, looking for clues, creating scenarios where things could work out. All of this mental activity isn't about love. It's about trying to protect your sense of worth. Here's the truth. You're not obsessing over him. You're obsessing over the validation he's not giving you. His silence feels like rejection, and rejection makes you want to prove that you're worth choosing. So your brain keeps him at the center of your thoughts because it's still trying to win, still trying to get him to see your value, still trying to turn his disinterest into interest. But the problem is none of that effort is happening in real life. It's all happening in your head. You're fighting a battle that doesn't exist, and he's not even aware of it. This is why walking away feels so hard, because walking away means accepting that you didn't win. It means accepting that he didn't choose you, and your brain hates that. It wants to keep trying. It wants to stay in the game. But here's what you need to realize. Staying in your head, thinking about him, isn't keeping you in the game. It's keeping you stuck. He's not sitting around thinking about you the same way. He's living his life. He's moved on mentally, even if he hasn't said it out loud. And every day you spend obsessing over him is a day you're giving away to someone who isn't thinking about you at all. So what do you do? How do you actually get him out of your head without forcing it? The first step is simple. Stop feeding the obsession. Every time you check his social media, you're giving your brain new material to obsess over. Every time you replay old conversations or look at old photos, you're reinforcing the pattern. Your brain needs new information to latch on to. And if you keep feeding it information about him, it's going to keep focusing on him. So cut off the supply, unfollow him if you need to, delete the old text threads, stop stalking his profiles. This isn't about being petty or dramatic. It's about starving the obsession so it has nothing left to feed on. The second step is redirecting your mental energy. Your brain isn't going to just stop thinking. It needs something else to focus on. So give it something. Get obsessed with something else. A new project, a new goal, a new hobby, something that actually benefits your life. The more mental space you fill with things that matter, the less room there is for him. And no, this isn't about distracting yourself. It's about replacing an unhealthy focus with a healthy one. You're not avoiding the feelings. You're just choosing not to let them run your entire inner world. The third step is recognizing the difference between missing him and missing the idea of him. Most of the time, you're not actually missing the real person. You're missing the version of him you created in your mind, the potential you saw, the connection you thought was there, the future you imagined. But that version doesn't exist. The real him is the one who's not calling, not texting, not showing up. And that version isn't worth missing. When you catch yourself thinking about him, ask yourself this: am I missing how he actually treated me, or am I missing how I wished he would treat me? That question cuts through the fantasy fast. The fourth step is sitting with the discomfort instead of trying to fix it. You want closure. You want answers. You want him to explain why he's distant or come back and make everything make sense. But closure doesn't come from him. It comes from you deciding the story is over. You don't need his permission to move on. You don't need a final conversation or a clear reason. You just need to accept that someone who wanted to be in your life would be in your life. His actions are the answer. The silence is the closure. And once you stop waiting for more, your mind can finally let go. Here's something most people don't talk about. The reason it's so hard to let go isn't because the quota. Connection was real. It's because you invested so much mental and emotional energy into it. You've spent hours thinking about him, analyzing him, hoping for him, and your brain doesn't want to admit that all that energy was wasted. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. The more you invest in something, the harder it is to walk away, even when it's clearly not working. But staying invested doesn't make it worth it. It just keeps you stuck. You need to give yourself permission to let it go without feeling like you failed. You didn't fail. You just cared about someone who wasn't ready or willing to care back the same way. And that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of where he is. Some people just aren't capable of showing up the way you need them to. And no amount of thinking about them is going to change that. The only thing it changes is how much of your own life you're willing to sacrifice while waiting for someone who's not coming. Let's talk about what happens when you actually start letting go. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Your brain is used to thinking about him. It's used to checking for messages. It's used to wondering what he's doing. So when you stop doing those things, there's this weird empty feeling, like something's missing. But that emptiness isn't a sign you made the wrong choice. It's just your brain adjusting to a new normal. And if you push through that discomfort instead of running back to old patterns, something shifts. You start noticing how much lighter you feel, how much more present you are, how much mental space you actually have when you're not spending it all on someone who doesn't deserve it. And here's the beautiful part. Once you truly let go, one of two things happens. Either he notices the shift and starts reaching out because he feels the absence of your attention, or he doesn't. And if he doesn't, you get the clarity you've been avoiding. You realize he was never as invested as you thought. And that realization, as painful as it might be, is actually freedom. Because now you're not stuck in limbo anymore. You're not waiting. You're not wondering, and knowing, even when the answer isn't what you hoped for, is always better than staying in uncertainty. But let's be real. Even if he does come back, you need to ask yourself if that's what you actually want. Because a man who only shows up when he feels you pulling away isn't showing up for you. He's showing up for his ego. He's showing up because he lost your attention, not because he values you. And if you take him back without anything changing, you're just going to end up right back where you started, stuck in your head, wondering why he's distant, waiting for scraps of effort. That's not the kind of connection worth holding on to. The goal here isn't to get him back. The goal is to get yourself back, to reclaim the mental and emotional energy you've been pouring into someone who isn't pouring anything back, to remember what it feels like to wake up without immediately checking your phone to see if he texted, to go through your day without wondering what he's thinking or who he's with, to feel whole and complete without needing his validation to feel okay. That's the real win. Not him coming back, but you coming back to yourself. Here's what I want you to remember. Your mind is powerful. It can build entire worlds around a single person. It can create stories, meanings, and connections that feel completely real. But just because your mind is focused on someone doesn't mean they deserve that far. Focus. Just because you can't stop thinking about someone doesn't mean they're meant for you. Your brain latches onto what feels unresolved, what feels uncertain, what feels like a challenge. And that's exactly what he is, a challenge, not a connection, not love, not your future, just a challenge your brain refuses to let go of. So the question isn't, why is he stuck in my mind? The question is, why am I letting him stay there? Why am I giving this much power to someone who's barely giving me anything back? Why am I holding on to someone who's not holding on to me? Those are the real questions. And when you answer them honestly, you realize that letting go isn't about him. It's about you choosing yourself, choosing your peace, choosing your mental space, choosing to stop playing a game that only you're playing. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It doesn't mean the connection wasn't real to you. It just means you're done letting someone live in your head without paying rent. You're done giving away your energy to someone who's not investing any back. You're done waiting for someone to show up when they've already shown you 100 times that they're not going to. And that's not giving up. That's waking up. That's choosing clarity over confusion. That's choosing yourself over the fantasy.
Finalta che hai. He's stuck in your mind because your brain is wired to focus on what feels incomplete. But also inconsistency creates obsession. But also his distance made you question your worth. But none of that means he belongs there. You have the power to shift your focus. To stop feeding in obsession. To recognize the difference between real connection and psychological tricks. And when you do, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop wondering. You stop giving your mental energy to someone who doesn't deserve it, and you finally make space for someone who actually shows up. Someone who's consistent. Someone who doesn't make you question or chase or obsess. But also that's what you actually deserve. Not the guy who won't leave your mind because he's playing games. But the guy who shows up so clearly and consistently that your mind never has to wonder at all. Your next move is simple. Stop checking. Stop analyzing. Stop hoping. Redirect that energy back into your own life. And watch how fast he loses his grip on your thoughts when you stop giving him access to them. Thoughts where your power is. Not in getting him to care. But in realizing you don't need him to.
Your brain latches onto what feels unresolved, what feels uncertain, what feels like a challenge. And that's exactly what he is, a challenge, not a connection, not love, not your future, just a challenge your brain refuses to let go of. So the question isn't, why is he stuck in my mind? The question is, why am I letting him stay there? Why am I giving this much power to someone who's barely giving me anything back? Why am I holding on to someone who's not holding on to me? Those are the real questions. And when you answer them honestly, you realize that letting go isn't about him. It's about you choosing yourself, choosing your peace, choosing your mental space, choosing to stop playing a game that only you're playing. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It doesn't mean the connection wasn't real to you. It just means you're done letting someone live in your head without paying rent. You're done giving away your energy to someone who's not investing any back. You're done waiting for someone to show up when they've already shown you 100 times that they're not going to. And that's not giving up. That's waking up. That's choosing clarity over confusion. That's choosing yourself over the fantasy.
Finalta que hay. He's stuck in your mind because your brain is wired to focus on what feels incomplete. But also inconsistency creates obsession. But also his distance made you question your worth. But none of that means he belongs there. You have the power to shift your focus. To stop feeding in obsession. To recognize the difference between real connection and psychological tricks. And when you do, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop wondering. You stop giving your mental energy to someone who doesn't deserve it, and you finally make space for someone who actually shows up. Someone who's consistent. Someone who doesn't make you question or chase or obsess. But also that's what you actually deserve. Not the guy who won't leave your mind because he's playing games. But the guy who shows up so clearly and consistently that your mind never has to wonder at all. Your next move is simple. Stop checking. Stop analyzing. Stop hoping. Redirect that energy back into your own life. And watch how fast he loses his grip on your thoughts when you stop giving him access to them. Thoughts where your power is. Not in getting him to care. But in real